So get yourself set up in a nice, comfortable all fours position. Hands roughly under shoulders, knees roughly underneath the hips. And then we're going to start to take some hip circles. So imagining that you're drawing circles around the knees with your hips. And just going slow and small to begin with, checking into how the pelvis feels, go in both directions. And then maybe if it feels nice, you can start to take that a little bit wider with the pelvis, taking the hips further back, coming forwards a little bit more. Let the head and the neck join in. Just move naturally with the movement of the hips and the spine. Changing direction if you haven't already. And then coming back into the center. We're going to find another spinal rotation now. So from all fours, start to turn your head towards the left, taking your gaze towards the left side of the room and then up towards the ceiling. Allow your right elbow to bend and come onto the floor roughly where your right hand was. Try to keep your left arm as straight as possible. And then when you've gone as far as you can with that turning, lifting up and coming back into the center. And we'll go over onto the other side. So turning your head towards the right, taking the gaze up towards the ceiling, allow the left elbow to bend and slide forwards onto the floor, keeping the right arm relatively straight as you turn the gaze. Coming back to center, we'll just take that once more on each side. So turning the head, notice if you can keep your head pretty much at a right angle, so you're not looking behind you, but up to the side. And then sliding the right elbow to the ground, keeping the left arm as straight as you can. Come back up. Seeing how quietly and smoothly we can take this movement now on the other side, turning the head to the right, lowering the left arm, gazing up, and then moving back to the center. Great. Take your hands slightly further forwards on the ground and take your hips backwards in space. You can have your toes tucked or untucked here, whichever you prefer. And then pressing your hips back, allow your head, your neck, and your chest to relax down through your arms. We're going to take a few baby waves here coming forwards. So press into your toes, round your spine upwards towards the ceiling, allowing your hips to move forwards with you. Coming through a really long cat pose as you keep moving your hips forwards. Chest comes through the arms and then allowing the pelvis to lower any amount towards the ground as the chest lifts and we gaze forwards. Coming into this variation of up dog. Take a moment there, just turn the head from side to side. And then pushing back into your hands, lifting the navel, pressing the hips back and coming back into this puppy pose. So we'll do that a couple more times. The movement starts by pressing to the feet. That then lifts the hips, rounding the spine. Keep gazing back towards your navel as your hips come forwards, chest moves through the arms, and then the pelvis lowers gently, gently towards the ground as the chest and the head lift. This time noticing if you can find a slight dragging back of the hands towards the hips. Take a few turns from side to side, and then pushing, rounding back into puppy pose. Okay, one more. This time we're going to come all the way through that long cat pose, rounding the spine, bringing ourselves through to up dog, And then just allow the whole of the chest and the head to come to the ground. Lift yourself up onto forearms now for Sphinx pose. Check that your toes are untucked. I like to have my elbows a little bit wider and a little bit further forward than my shoulders. So just find what feels comfortable for you. And then collapse your upper body so that you feel like you're not really supporting yourself anymore on your forearms. So just let everything kind of collapse down a little bit. And then we're going to find activation in the arms. So pressing lightly down into the palms of your hands, imagine that you were trying to drag the ground, the mat, towards you. So kind of pulling back with the forearms and the hands towards your chest. And then from that place with the shoulder blades, then lift the chest, the neck, and the head. And just notice how that feels across the upper back. What can you feel turning on and working there? And then turning the head from side to side, gazing over the left shoulder, towards the right. Keep turning the chin to one shoulder and then the other. And then again, we're going to allow the whole of the upper spine to follow this movement. So turning the chest now from side to side, just making that movement a little bit bigger. Maybe you can see your feet behind you as you turn. And then come back down, relax the forehead to the ground for a moment. And then move your hands back towards your chest so that you can come all the way up into all fours again. Find yourself in a neutral place in all fours. And then we're going to start arm circles with the right arm. So bringing your right hand back towards your right foot, and then lifting the arm up towards the ceiling, round in front of you, back down, and towards the foot. So keep this circling action going, noticing if you can follow the hand as far as possible with your gaze, and allow your hips to move with you. So they sway from side to side, moving back as the arm moves back. And noticing the support of your left arm and your left hand on the ground. The next time the right arm is up in the air, pause there, inhale, and then exhale to take the right arm through underneath the left, placing it to the ground and lowering the right side of the head onto the ground as well for arm thread needle. Take your left hand a little bit further away from your face so that you've got space there. And then a gentle press into the left hand, pressing lightly with the tops of the feet, gently hugging the navel towards the spine. And just notice that feeling of rotation in the upper spine and the slight spiraling action towards the hips. Relax your face, taking deep breaths into that right side of the body. And then coming back up, we're going to use the press of the left hand into the ground to lift ourselves all the way back up. I'm going to turn to face you now just so that you can see this next bit. Take your right leg out long to the side in gate pose. So right toes are roughly in line with the left knee. And then the left hand stays planted on the ground underneath your face. And we're going to take the right arm for a circling action again. So allowing the right arm to move around in big, expansive circles, the head, the neck, the chest turning with you. Go in both directions. And then pause with the right arm folded behind the lower back. Maybe you can reach around and find the inside of the left thigh with your right fingertips, or just resting the right hand on the lower back, whichever feels nicer. And then either gazing up towards the ceiling, or if that feels uncomfortable on your neck, then just gazing down at the left hand on the floor. Have a slight bend in the left elbow so you're not locking out. And again, take some deep breaths along the length of the spine, all the way from the sit bones to the crown of the head. Bring that right hand back onto the ground. Draw the right leg behind you now so that the right leg goes long with the toes tucked. And then just finding a pulse into the right leg. So shifting your weight into the heel of the foot and then forwards. Pressing into the heel and then moving forwards. Feel that activation down the back of the right leg. And we're going to swing the right leg over towards the left now. So it comes behind the left leg over on the side. Lift your chest up and gaze behind your left shoulder towards your right foot. And feel whatever you can feel down the right side of your body. And take some deep breaths into that opening on the right side. Dropping the right knee now where it is, it'll come behind the left knee and untuck your toes. Move your hands around towards the right so they come on the same angle as your knees. They don't have to be crossed exactly behind one another if it's not super comfortable. And then we're going to find pressing back with the hips. They don't need to come all the way to the feet. So just focus on the relaxing of the chest and the head and the neck between the arms. And the hips stay hovered as we take a little swaying action from side to side now. Shifting weight from one hand to the other. And bringing a sense of a gentle massage into the lower back and the outsides of the hips. Lifting back up, take your hands around into the center again and come back to all fours. We'll just take a little rest in between sides, coming onto our heels. You can put a cushion or a block underneath you here if it doesn't feel super comfortable sitting back on your heels. And then interlacing your hands, press the palms of your hands forwards in front of you, and then lift the hands up towards the ceiling. And then just lifting and stretching the right side of the body as if you were trying to stretch the skin on the right side of the rib cage a little bit longer. Letting that go and then reaching up through the left palm of the hand and stretching the left side of the rib cage a little bit there. Moving between either side. And then again, finding a circling action with the palms of the hands now. So imagine that you are drawing circles with the hands on the ceiling. Getting into the tops of the shoulders and the rotator cuffs now. You can keep these circles really small and contained, changing direction every now and then. Or maybe you want to take the whole of the spine, the head and the neck into the circling action. So really listen to what your body seems to be asking for. So these circles can be as intimate and contained as they need to be, or they can be as expansive and spacious as feels good. Pause with the hands pressed up towards the ceiling. Inhale as you lift the hips away from the heels, lifting everything up towards the ceiling. And then exhale as you relax your elbows back towards your waist and sit back down on your heels. Just take a moment there with the backs of the hands onto your thighs, with the eyes closed. Maybe you can feel your heart beating gently inside the chest. Coming back to the felt quality of your breath. And then when you're ready, we'll meet back in our all fours position to take that little sequence on the left side. So beginning with the left arm circles, bring your hand back towards your left foot, lifting your arm up towards the sky in front of you and back round. And then continuing this movement, noticing how fluid and smooth that movement feels, noticing any areas that feel a little bit less easy and less fluid. There's nothing wrong with that. We're just noticing things about our body and about our internal landscape. So my yoga teacher always says that yoga isn't in the asana, which is the physical movement or practice, but it's in the awareness that you bring to it. So really bringing your awareness now to how supported you feel through the right hand, how freely your hips can move with you as you take one last big circle. Pausing with the left arm up towards the ceiling, and then threading that left arm through underneath the right and bringing the side of the face, the shoulder, to the ground. Move your right hand a little bit further away from you into a comfortable position. And then again, feeling that light press of the tops of the feet down into the ground, a slight drawing in of the navel, and deepening your breath here into what you can feel in the left shoulder, side of the face, and that gentle sense of a twist across the spine. Pressing into your hands so that you can lift yourself up. Coming back into all fours. And we'll take gate pose on the other side now. So stretching the left leg out towards the left side, toes facing forwards, roughly in line with your right knee. And then the right hand stays underneath the face, slight bend in the right elbow to support you as you take big arm circles with the left arm. Notice where you're placing your weight in your right hand. Notice if you can bring more weight into the heel of the hand and the finger pads. You almost get a sense of lifting the palm of the hand away from the ground. Reverse the direction of those circles. Maybe feeling the left shoulder blade sliding around on the upper back. And then bending the left elbow and bringing your arm onto your lower back, maybe reaching around and catching hold of the inside of your right thigh, or maybe just holding onto the back of your leggings, t-shirt, whatever you're wearing. The gaze can be up towards the ceiling or down at the ground. Notice any shaking or achiness in that right arm. Give yourself a little bit more space. Soften the elbow. And then bring the left hand to the floor. We're going to bring the left foot now behind us, lengthening the leg out behind us with the toes tucked. And then again, find that pulsing backwards and forwards into the right heel and then into the hands. This movement always gets me if it's the first thing I've done in the day. It can actually be quite intense down the back of the leg. So just noticing what you feel. And then swinging the left foot all the way behind you towards the right, coming behind the right leg, land the toes, press into the heel, lift your chest, then take the gaze backwards over the right shoulder, catching sight of your left foot. Breathing into what you can feel down the whole left side of the body. And then lower the left knee to the floor behind the right knee, untuck your toes, and bring your hands onto that same diagonal line as your knees. And then pressing the hips back, it's almost as if you were trying to lower yourself really gently into a really hot bath, something like that. So don't just send the hips straight back and go into that stretch, that flexion, but pushing the hips back, hovering them cautiously, and then let the head and the neck relax between the hands. The right knee will come away from the ground, and then finding that sway between your arms. Let the hips sway from side to side. Let the head and the neck be nice and relaxed. You might be able to feel this on the outside of the hips. Maybe a sense of release into the lower back. If it feels uncomfortable at all, then just keeping the chest lifted a little bit higher. And then bringing yourself all the way back up, coming into all fours, and then sitting back on the heels again. So getting anything that you need underneath. So just some really gentle, simple movements there to wake up the body and bring our awareness into the body before we go on and start the day.